Hey everybody, welcome back to an episode of the Vanguard Wall. This one's kind of cool. It was really unexpected, and it's a little bit out of our genre, which is even better. So we have a pretty A-list actor, Max Martini, here on the show today, which is just a great opportunity for us. It's something different. I haven't talked to anybody from Hollywood. You're pretty easy to talk to, because if I met you at a bar, I would think you were a military dude. So it's been pretty easy. So I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule between, directing, acting, and everything you have to do with flying to different places. Look, you're married, you have kids, and I know that time's extremely valuable. So thank you for sharing a little bit of your time with us. Before we dive in, I just want to do a quick intro for you. Today, we're diving deep into the remarkable journey of Max Martini, a man whose quarter-century mission has been bringing authentic military storytelling to Hollywood. From his breakout role as Corporal Henderson in Saving Private Ryan to 4 years as Master Sergeant Matt Gerhardt in The Unit, which was an awesome TV show. From the Benghazi rooftops in 13 hours to the SEAL rescue operations in Captain Phillips, Max has earned something rare in Hollywood, the genuine respect of the special operations community. But this isn't just an actor playing dress up. This is a man who's trained with Delta Force, SEALs, FBI, CIA, every branch of our military and law enforcement. A man who sits on veteran charity boards, makes multiple trips to the Middle East supporting our warriors, and has dedicated his life to ensuring that when Hollywood tells a military story, they get it right. Max is also a son who held a vigil as his Emmy-winning stepfather, Stewart Margolin. I want to make sure I get that right. Passed. Max is a father raising children with authentic values, and now a director using his platform to tell the veteran stories that need telling. His journey from a Roman sculptor's son to Hollywood's most trusted military storyteller is one of purpose, loss, brotherhood, and unwavering commitment to those who serve. This is Max Martini's story, the warrior's heart behind the authentic performance. Thanks for joining us, dude.
Wow, nice intro.
Those are kind of fun intros, man. I get to say all the things that I'm sure you would never just bloat about yourself, especially in the short time that I've gotten to know you. So those are fun for me to do. Let's go back to kind of the beginning. You had this incredible blended family, Italian sculptor father from Rome. Your mom was in Texas law enforcement, which I thought was super cool. I didn't know that until I was prepping for this. And then you have an Emmy-winning, actor who your stepfather, Stewart Margolin, becomes your stepfather when you're like 13. How did those three very different influences shape the man who would become Hollywood's most trusted military storyteller?
Oh, wow. Well, so my mother met my father in San Francisco, and she was making jewelry. My dad was a sculptor that he was, I think, maybe 20 something years old, came over from Rome. They got together. It was it was a short-lived marriage. I mean, it was I think right as my brother was born, they got divorced. Not a pretty one, kind of.
They never are.
They never are. No, kind of very, took some work to get through that. So, but then my mother reconnected with a former boyfriend of hers, Stewart Margolin, who was in the entertainment industry. After they got back together around the same time, maybe she had just gotten into law enforcement, so she was working in Texas. She was a parole officer. She was a private investigator.
I knew you had roots to Texas. That's why we like you, bro.
Yeah. Her family's all in Dallas, and then my dad's family is all in Rome. So I'm actually a dual citizen. I speak Italian fluently. I go there regularly.
It's awesome.
And it's ironic. It's weird. It's just I'm such a patriot. I feel this country in my soul. And then when I remember in my 20s, I went to Italy and I decided to move there, and I just reconnected with the other half, and it felt like this was sort of a missing link. I would say I'm not involved in anything like the veteran community. There's nothing, but I have a lot of veteran fans out of Italy. But my community service, for however that manifests, is in the United States. How did I become that guy? I would say Private Ryan was kind of my first. I actually went to art school. I got my degree in fine arts. I was kind of following my dad's footsteps. But Private Ryan, I remember, really shaped me. It made kind of what I was doing important. I'll retell a quick scenario that happened to me. So I was in the premiere of Private Ryan, sitting in the middle of a sea of veterans, and at the end of that first battle sequence, I looked around and they were all just in tears, And then on the heels of that, this article came out talking about how it had sparked a conversation amongst this veteran community, and it was very healing, and the power of film and how it can, sort of, become therapeutic for somebody. So suddenly what I was doing, which was really, I had kind of started acting to pay off my art school, believe it or not. But then like this, I just kind of went, God, this is amazing how it can affect these people and how you can actually do, because I always wanted to do, to contribute somehow, right? I wanted to make artwork that was a contribution to some sort of a conversation, right? And I stuck it out, man, and I got plucked from the Spielberg world and chosen, to sort of represent the military, I guess. Just people just kept giving me these soldiers to play. And so every time I play one, I try to make it better. I try to better, my performance and my portrayal, and that's it in a nutshell. But that movie really kind of put me on this path, and I'm sure you'll bring it up, but I did do a film that I wrote and produced and acted in. The intention was to funnel money, the profits, to 3 charities that I had sort of vetted and handpicked, that I wanted to donate to. Unfortunately, Hollywood at that time was done with the war, didn't want to support war stories. I didn't get the reception that I thought I was going to get. But I put everything I owned, all my money, into that movie, to do that. And I lost it. So I definitely put my money where my mouth was. But what the good that came out of that film was that I got hundreds of messages from veterans. It was so embraced by the veteran community. And guys, one in particular that stands out, this guy goes, look, it got me to the point where I could ask for help. It motivated me to go seek help. It helped, me get past the idea that there's a stigma attached to asking for help as a soldier, right? That you can't do that. One guy sent me a message saying that, my daughter got her dad back.
Yeah, that, and how do you put a price on that? And there is this idea, and I no friends. I don't know a ton of people in Hollywood. But there's this idea like you make one movie and you're a multi-millionaire with a yacht, and that's just not how it works. I mean, I think people will never know how long, how much you had to struggle before you finally, get this breakout role and everything that goes into that, and all the effort that you put into your life. So for you to put all that effort into it, and the financial effort, and then take all that money and donate it, I think that says a lot about who you are.
Well, it's still a struggle. Yeah. I mean, you want the honest answer, because everybody lives the lie, right? It's always a struggle. And, when we do a film, you got to think, so, it sounds like good money up front, but then you may get 2 jobs a year, right? And then you pay 10% to your agent, 10 to your manager, 5 to your lawyer. I mean, the taxes, 35%. By the time you get your check, you're making 25 cents on the dollar. And it's not that much, you know what I mean? So it really, unless you're Brad Pitt pulling in $20 million a movie, you know, it's a struggle, man. I mean, you know,
And you still have a family and kids.
and you got a family and kids, and you're trying to get, you know.
I only bring that up because I think there is this misconception in the world. I mean, I've seen it even with podcasts, and I have a little podcast, and you know, we're starting to get a little bit bigger, and I've had people make comments, you know, it's like, bro, you have no idea how much I don't make.
Listen, you know, my oldest son went to film school, right? And when he was like, Dad, I want to direct, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, and we had this talk. I was like, look, dude, you know, what you're seeing in you know, when I'm successful, right? When I'm working, what you're seeing is that's not real. You know, that's a fleeting moment. And the rest of it is you know, is a hustle, you know. So let me give you the lay of the land here before you make the commitment. And he wanted to keep going with it, you know, and he finished his undergrad in film, and his films were great. So that gave me a little relief. Yeah. But so he has a lot of talent to ride. But then he applied to USC Film School and got in, which is the hardest film school in the program for graduate school, right? In the country, rather. So he's doing the work, you know, but there is a misconception that it's all glamour and first class seats and, you know, 5-star hotels. I mean, you know, it's not all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of going back, you know, you growing up, you know, your stepdad passes away in December of 2022. You were extremely close to him, and you were beside him. You said it was one of the two most profound moments in your life, along with your kids' births. What did Stewart teach you about craft and life that you carry with you today?
The first thing he said to me was, "I'm not gifting this to you." The same thing that I say to my kids: "You're going to go work. You're going to earn it. You're going to work for it."
We're not wealthy. Dad's wealthy.
Right. Yeah. No, but it was like, I'm not going to make introductions. I'm not going to.
That's awesome.
You know, he was like, you want to do this? Go study. Go figure out how to do it. And I tell veterans that because I get a lot of veterans calling me, you know, and I get messages all the time. Hey, I think I'm going to become an actor. And I'm like,
yeah, good luck,
you know,
bro.
Well, no, but like, you know, what do you do? And I want to be supportive, right? Yeah. So I say, you know, you got to study, and I'll make intros to, like, there's organizations like the VME, Veterans in Movies and Entertainment, I think, in LA, where they actually help veterans break into the industry, or, you know, stuntmen, coordinators that are veterans that, you know.
But it is a cutthroat, tough industry, right?
It's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah, I can imagine it can suck your soul depending on who you associate with, and I'm sure there's alliances and cliques, and I can't imagine having to deal with that. But yeah, I only wanted to really bring that up because, you know, again, to readdress the misconception, because you're a pretty down-to-earth guy.
Yeah.
You have triple citizenship, which is another thing I learned, so I thought was pretty cool, man. U.S., Canadian, Italian, and you spent 22 years, you know, out in Canada off and on. How does that global perspective shape your approach to military roles and your advocacy? You mentioned a little bit about Italy, but I just thought it was...
Yeah. Well, is 3 passports, is that legal?
Yeah, sure.
Is it? Okay. How does it shape? I mean...
Well, I mean, I guess maybe, like, you know, you have a global perspective, right? I think a lot of people, especially if you've grown up in America, and if you weren't in the military and, you know, you aren't from a wealthy family, you don't get to travel a lot. And you have family in Rome, you've lived in Canada, you know, you obviously have a residency here in the U.S., you know, I know you spend most of your time here in the US.
Look, I think having that perspective is just, you know, great for, you know, life. I mean,
yeah,
in general. I agree. And giving, you know, that information to my kids, sharing, you know, culturally, kind of having those connections is nice for them. But for me, you know, because my kids live in America, because, you know, I was born in America, because I am first and foremost an American, right? Yeah. You know, my patriotism lies here, you know, and what I also share with my kids is, you know, the importance of supporting our veteran community and our law enforcement officers, and and the people that are fighting for those freedoms that we enjoy and those liberties that we enjoy that people take for granted. It infuriates me seeing it's people on TV that are so overly critical of this country. If you don't like it,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's a great.
It's an open door. This is a free, you can leave. You know, this is the most we have done. More. This country is constantly evolving and bettering. I mean, you got to look at what we've accomplished in such a short time, from slavery on, right? I mean, it's not that it's just a fleeting second of history, and we're already, I mean, technology's insane.
It's a great time to be alive. It's a great place.
It's a great time to be alive,
Yeah.
but we've also grown as humans. I mean,
I agree.
so it's the best country in the world.
Yeah. Period.
Yeah.
And I've traveled to plenty of other countries and a lot of not so nice countries. And I feel bad for people who haven't got to go somewhere else and see what, how war-torn countries and how fragile life is.
That's how you gain perspective.
Yeah. It's, and it's hard, everybody, I'm conscious that there are people that just don't know, all they know is their charmed life.
Right.
And, so it gives them this platform on the internet or wherever to really, bash whatever.
Right.
And I tell my own kids, like, you're lucky.
But I agree with, like free speech, like everybody we've got,
Yeah,
like, this is
for
something
sure.
we got to allow everyone. Right. But my thing is like, be informed. You know what I mean? If you're going to have an opinion, at least have an informed opinion. And I tell my kids this, I'm like, look, here's the beauty. Like, I hate how divided we are politically, not to talk about politics, but and I tell my kids, I'm like, look, you have the right to vote for whoever you want to vote for, right? But if you pick a side, if you're going to bash the other, right, and have a strong opinion, then inform yourself so that when somebody goes, well, why do you hate that side so much, or why do you support that side? At least be able to argue it and say, because of X, Y, and Z.
Well, and to your point, like, I think, we've allowed media and some of the internet to just really put us in these far camps. But if you have normal conversations, what I have found personally, and not even politics, but like, we're all closer to the middle than we think we are.
Right.
Those people that are screaming on one side or screaming on the other, they don't represent all of us. You know what I mean? And I really enjoy sitting down and talking to people who don't think like me.
Right.
I wouldn't say that I've changed my mind, but I've had some great conversations. Us screaming over each other, it does nothing. But being able to sit down and having an honest conversation. I mean, taking this kind of back to the military. In the military, we didn't really talk politics because it didn't really matter. When you're overseas fighting a war, we don't care who each other voted for. Yeah. Like, bro, if the shooting starts, are you going to shoot back? Because I really don't care who you voted for. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think we've gotten so far sometimes as a society just away from that. So that's not, I don't want to dive down that rabbit hole too hard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you kind of going back to your story, you started with the bachelor's in fine arts and painting and sculpture from the School of Visual Arts, worked as Julian Schnabel's assistant, co-founded the Theater North Collaborative in New York City. How does that artistic foundation serve you in portraying warriors authentically? I mean, you came from two different sides of the house, but you've mastered it pretty well. I mean,
wow, you did a deep dive.
Yeah. What was that journey like?
The journey was amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Mean, my dad used to make these flags, right? So I told you he was an artist. So he collected soil from around the world, and he'd mix the soil with an adhesive, and he'd apply it onto canvases, and he'd make American flags, a lot of American flags.
That's awesome.
With different soils from different states, different countries. And when I was in art school, I started making, I did one flag. Right. I did this and it was kind of like a tribute to my dad, but I went and grabbed all this scrap metal. I worked big, right, and I welded and stuff. So I had all this metal, and I was like, fuck, I just started piecing together this American flag that hung by these ropes and welded it all together and shit. And my studio teacher was like, he goes, why did you make this flag? I said, well, my dad made flag. He goes, okay, so let's explore that, right? Is this a connection to your dad? Is this something political? Do you want to, so, what do you want to do? And then we dove. And for me, I think it started as kind of like this kind of connection that I had with my father, but it became political. And then I realized that, I wanted to say things using this symbol that we all have this immediate reaction to, no matter where you are politically, right?
I still cry at the national anthem.
Every time. I mean, it's like you can't see an American flag and not have some kind of a reaction, right? So I started making these flags in art school, and then I got into, I got into acting because I had to pay off the art school. And, but creatively, that background, when you're making a piece of art, you have to kind of put a lot of thought into what you want it to communicate, right? And then find creative ways to do that. When you approach a character like a soldier, right, you want to give that character a journey. So whenever I get a job, I look at the script and I go, okay, there may be nothing on this fucking page, but I have to show how this guy evolves, right? How does he grow in the course of 90 minutes? And if it's not there, you got to fill it. I think that's what keeps me in these military roles, is because I fill those gaps that aren't on the page. It's like, okay, moving, cover me, whatever it is, post up, hold the room, whatever. But that's all fine. But you got to give them some life, right? Yeah. So the creative background helps me kind of in how I approach these roles and bring them to life.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, understanding kind of that trajectory.
Yeah.
I mean, just that flag story, just the thought that goes into it explains, as you were making that art, loving our country, I guess maybe it would be just an easy fit at some point for you to start portraying the characters that, both love our country, but also protect our country. So that's not something I saw coming when you said that, but that was pretty cool. What was the moment? I think you just told me, but I'm going to ask you this anyway. What was the moment when you realized you were meant to tell military stories? Was it Saving Private Ryan, the launch, or was there something deeper calling you to represent these characters?
I mean, look, I didn't really choose to tell military stories. The military stories chose me to represent the characters in the stories. But when I realized how impactful, your performance could be, like when fans come up to me, it's like they don't come up to me, and this is what, I love so much, man, about doing these movies, is like guys will come up to me and it's not like, hey dude, I know you from that thing, can you take a picture with my wife? It's not, you know what I mean? It's like they come up to me and they're like, you were the reason that I enlisted. You were the dude when you're on God, you do such a great job bringing us, making people understand what we do. And, it's so like their compliments are really from the heart, and I can see the effect that I have on people. So that's really rewarding. It's like, I don't need people telling me how great I am. I need people telling me that what I'm doing is important.
Yeah, because it gives value to this thing that you built your life on.
Right? Exactly.
And I think it goes to that higher purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's really cool. How did you get into military films? I mean, you have more of a background in fine arts, but you portray your military roles in both TV and movies with extreme authenticity. Was it the Spielberg? I mean, was that the defining kind of role that really just broke you into all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody just went, if he's good enough for Spielberg, then, he's good enough for us. I think, I mean, but I also, I mean, look, man, I stay in the gym,
Oh, bro, I've seen you I think you were leg pressing like 900 pounds.
I pressed 1,000 pounds. Yeah.
Good for you, bro.
Yeah.
And you ain't no spring chicken, man.
I'm 55, man.
All you dudes out there, hey, what's your excuse?
Setting the bar pretty high.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I stay in shape and I train, and you know, I'm on the range and I do that shit, and you know, but I'm also, you know, an adrenaline junkie. I used to work at a drop zone. You know, I skydived all through college. You know, I ride motorcycles. You know, I shoot guns. Honestly, I probably missed a calling by not enlisting. I would have enjoyed it. In fact, when I went to the Middle East, I remember getting off at the C-130, and I had like spent all this time with these soldiers, and I just thought, fuck, I should have, you know, because I feel like I have a little bit of an inherent leader in me, that quality, that leadership in me, and I felt like I could have led these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not the road I chose, but you know,
you probably had a little bit of better life.
Yeah, the bullets are fake. So,
Landing Corporal Henderson and Saving Private Ryan with Spielberg, Tom Hanks, Matt Damon. That's a hell of a way to start your military film career. What was the weight of portraying a real soldier in such a significant war film? And what was it like working with Steven Spielberg?
Spielberg was amazing. That was my second biggest film. The weight really didn't hit me until later, but the job, like, it was such a big production, and as an actor, you know, like back in those days, I mean, you had, you know, if the tanks were coming into the town, I'm at basically when you find Private Ryan, I'm his commanding officer, right? For those that aren't familiar, but you know, he would choreograph these huge battles, and all the squibs, all the explosions, everything was timed, synchronized, you know, so that if you screwed up your line, they had to rewire the whole town. I mean, there was
no pressure.
The pressure was just. But you know, the cool thing about that movie was it was so big. So we shot on an airfield, right? And when you approach the set, that town, all you could see were the back of the facades, right? So it's just, you know, 2x6s and wood plywood. But when you entered the town, every stone was brought to this field. I mean, they built this whole world. It was so big, and I remember thinking, wow, this job just got easier because it's so real, you know. It happens with characters, like you put on the clothes, you kind of have an idea of what you're gonna do. Like I just did an 1870s Western. I kind of had a gist of the character, but once I put the wardrobe on and you get to the old West town and you start seeing all these people walking by, and the horses and the carriages and the guys, the gunslingers and the this and that, I mean, it's like it all comes to life. You really have to just surrender to your imagination, you know?
Yeah,
it's cool. It's fun.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've worked with all these, like, you know, special operations guys, you know, SWAT dudes, LEOs, acronym folks. That's an incredible commitment to authenticity. What drives that level of preparation when most actors might just read a manual?
I think you got to love doing it. I mean, you know, like I said, I do it in my spare time. I remember we went to, when I was shooting Captain Phillips, and I get invited to some pretty crazy shit, you know, like bunch of guys brought me out to Academy, the former Blackwater training facility on the East Coast, and you know, we did, like, we were doing moves with vehicles, and you know, all kind. I mean, it's just such crazy stuff, man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was really cool. So if you love it, you know, your commitment to it is easy. You know, if you don't love it and you're getting those roles, I don't know how you do it. You know, like for me, it's just kind of part of who I am. Like, you know, I love doing it on the sides.
That stuff's pretty draining on the body. You know, how do you, I mean, you're 55, dude, you're, you know, leg pressing and doing all the stuff. Like you know, how do you stay in shape? What's your...
I'm in the gym every day. I eat clean. I'm in the gym every day. That's a lot of what I do when I'm not working, is just stay in that pocket so that when those jobs come up, I'm ready. You know what I mean? I don't need 6 months to get ready for it.
You mentioned the infectious nature of tactical training, that your preparation affects other actors on set. Can you give Like a small example of kind of how that works?
I mean, when you set the bar high, when you come in and, then everybody is like, oh shit, I'm either gonna, it's sink or swim. He's either gonna make me look really bad or, I'm gonna step it up. And I'm very giving on set. I do it. Like I just helped a guy the other day. He was like, he was doing some military film, and one of the trainers at my gym was like, oh, you got to talk to Max Martini. Blah, blah, blah. So he sent me this video, and I broke it down for him. I screenshotted all his mistakes. I gave him little voice memos of what he was doing wrong and, how to kind of get it right. So I'm helping people get it right when I'm not working, so I think it's infectious when they see that you're passionate about doing it, then everybody's game suddenly.
Yeah, man. That's dope.
Yeah.
69 episodes over 4 years as Master Sergeant Matt Gerhardt and David Mamet's the unit. Did I say his last name right? David?
Yeah.
That's not just playing a character. That's like living a life. How did those 4 years change you personally? Or did it?
Well, I mean, I made some amazing friends. In the military and on set, Michael Irby, who you're going to interview.
We're going to talk to him here in a minute.
Yeah, we're inseparable, so it's I'm sure it's much like going on multiple tours with somebody, but it changes your life, and that you're living with this, these actors for 4 fucking years. I mean, it was weird, having a TV wife, for 4 years. I mean,
think about that.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, we're hugging and kissing and, acting out these crazy scenes that she and I had a very volatile relationship on that show, and then it's, and then you fix it and you're back, and but if you're the kind of actor that brings it, right, for lack of a better, you got to believe what's you like. It's real, man. It's bizarrely real. It's like you got to leave it at set, but it's real. It's probably like going undercover, right?
We were just talking about that before we started.
Just talking about that. It's like, and I have undercover buddies, ATF dudes that I've talked about and that I've talked to. And one guy in particular was like, it was hard. It was weird. I was this guy's best man, and I'm putting a case together against him. I was at his fucking kids, his daughters, Quincy, what is it?
Quinceanera.
Yeah. I mean, like, it fucks with you, and it's the same on set. It's like you're living these relationships for 12 hours a day.
And then everybody around you is watching it when it releases. And you're seeing it. And, yeah. How does that screw with your relationship with home? I mean, obviously you and your wife been together a while. She's probably solid.
We've separated, but it didn't mess with the relationship at home. You get used to it. You get used to checking everything at the door. It's not real. It's make believe. You got to just keep, reminding yourself that it's not. No, my wife was, she was very happy that I was working, and it was steady.
Yeah, it's important. The feedback you got from real Delta Force operators and their families, what were they telling you about your portrayal, and why do military audiences buy your performances when we can all spot fakes pretty instantly?
It was funny. The Delta guys, I can spot them from a mile away, like there's a little bit of a cowboy element to them. There was I wouldn't say that like, they were, they invited us to train with them. We went out in Iraq. They came in and pulled us out of our bunks and, took us out to this fucking crater, and we just blew the shit out of everything, around us. So that was cool. And they always were like, hey, we love what you guys are doing, but unless we were out for beers, you know, we didn't really like get into too much talking. The SEALs are a little more talkative.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you hang out and train with a lot of SEALs.
Yeah,
We're gonna
I got some of my best friends are SEALs.
we're gonna hook you up with some Army dudes, bro.
Oh, good. All right.
13 hours. You're playing Mark Oz, you know, Geist, meeting the real man behind the story. Michael Bay has a reputation for spectacle over substance, but this was different. How did he approach authenticity versus his typical blockbuster style? That movie was phenomenal. It was
So
a great
good.
movie.
Yeah. And when I got that, I thought he was an odd choice to direct that. I was like, oh God, really? Because that you know was politically kind of a
What was a hot potato?
hot potato. Yeah. So, but he smashed it, man. And I think his deal was that he could make, you know, he made so many blockbuster movies, and then he got to do one passion project, you know, a year or whatever it was. So this was his passion project, and you know, he put us together. They put us together with the real guys, the guys we were playing. You know, I mean, oddly, when I got the script, they were like, "Okay, this part's taken and this part's taken, but just pick a role." And, you know, just read for that role. And I was like, you know, and, you know, I picked the role that had the less running, to be honest with you. I was like, this guy's on the roof for a lot of the time. I'm going to just, but then when Mark and I met for the first time, we looked at each other and went, oh my God, like, we look so much alike.
I saw that yesterday on the internet. I was
Did you see? Have you the photo of us like stacked up at the wall?
Yeah, you guys look pretty.
You should put that in this. Yeah,
I
mean, it's insane how much we look alike. So, you know, when I saw him, I was like, well, fuck, there's nobody else I could have played in this movie. But
did you spend a lot of time prepaing with him and picking his brain?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time talking, and he was on set with us. You know, and it you know, look, I think there was a little creative license taken in terms of like some of the guys were like, we're not quite how it happened, but you know, you still have to keep it entertaining, right?
It's Hollywood, man. I mean, like everybody's like, oh, I don't know if that was as real. I'm like, bro, it's Hollywood.
I'm talking about nitpicking.
Yeah.
You know, I said this, not him, or you know, like little things like that. But there was a lot of information in that film that I wasn't aware of. Like, I didn't know there was a drone feed to Washington the entire time. There was a lot of stuff, you know, that I was like, oof, wow. Yeah, crazy story. Really cool to be part of it, man.
Yeah, well, you did a good job. What was kind of Mark's feedback, you know, post-production?
We stayed friends. He's, you know, he loved it. You know, like I said, the wives were hit pretty hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, the other guys loved it. Probably out of everything that I've done, I would say I get the most feedback from that. You know,
yeah,
just people being like.
You did Cat Phillips with Paul Greengrass. You're representing the Navy SEAL rescue team leader. How did you prepare to portray recent real life operations where the tactical operators might be watching?
So here, this is a crazy story. I got the part. I hadn't met Paul Greengrass. I get to Virginia Beach, and you know, and I met him. When I met him, I said, "Hey, do you want to talk this through? You talk a little bit about the character, you know." He goes, "Oh no, you haven't worked for me before." He goes, "Just throw the script away." I went, "What?" He goes, yeah, we're not using the script. We don't use the script. So here's what's going to happen. And this is on the ship, right? This is when I first come onto the ship. So there was one other actor in the scene with me. Everybody else is Navy or former Navy. He goes, this guy is a Navy SEAL commander. This guy, Navy SEAL. This guy just retired, blah, 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 blah. They're going to enact what would have happened or what happened on the day, right? Then I'm going to pull the SEAL commander out of that position and put you in, and then we're going to redo it and just improvise through the whole thing. And you'll just keep going, just keep talking. I go, but I don't have 20 years of Navy SEAL vocabulary to draw from, you know? And he goes, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work, I'm going to just cut it out. my God. So I get in there, and we've since become really good friends. And I actually met the guy that I played, but the guy that sort of enacted it for me, he and I are good buddies. But if you see in the movie, I have a pad. When they did the enactment, I was writing down everything he was saying. And so in the film, man, I'm like looking down, trying to figure out what line goes where. And, you know, it came out great, but yeah, no script, completely improvised. Yeah.
I would imagine that's stressful, but also kind of fun, you know, rather than just
fun.
memorizing something and doing something kind of ad hoc.
Yeah.
There's a responsibility factor when you're portraying recent, sometimes controversial events like Benghazi versus historical films. How do you balance that weight with the entertainment aspect? I think we were just talking about, like, there is a Hollywood. You're not going to get away from Hollywood. I mean, you're not in fucking, you know, Libya or whatever. But
yeah, you still have to, you know, I mean, look, like there were guys on Captain Phillips going, hey, you know, you should say this. Yeah. You know, just say this. I'm like, dude, I can't say that. It's not, you know, because like they were like, it didn't happen like this. Like we didn't get cleared to take the shot. You know, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. You know, like, so you have to kind of like respect the director's vision and the fact that, you know, they still have to kind of, it has to fit in the movie mold, right? And then you balance that with keeping it real.
You did a movie called Sergeant William Gardner. And actually I hadn't seen it. We kind of, you know, we got hooked up. We figured out you were coming out here and I deep dove in. I'm like, man, I didn't even see this movie. And my wife and I watched it and it was extremely impactful. I had recently, our most recent podcast guest who, you know, that is getting ready to release this week, as a matter of fact, as we're filming this. And, you know, that is a story of a guy who ended up, you know, leaving the Ranger Regiment, was homeless, fought addiction, went to jail. And so, you know, we had just done his podcast and then we see this movie and it's, you know, that movie was really impactful. Can you tell me a little bit about kind of how that movie came about?
Yeah. I mean, that was, at a point in my life and career when I went, okay, you know, like now I've got the eyes and ears of all these people. So what am I going to do? You know? And so I wrote that wanting to, you know, get money to these charities. And, I had met this Army Ranger in the Middle East when I went over there that seemed like really squared away when I met him, and we stayed in touch. And at a certain point, he emailed me and was like, "Man, I need an ear. You know, I'm going through some anger issues. I'm going through a lot of sleep deprivation. I can't fucking sleep. I'm doing, you know, this, that. I'm depressed. You know." And he was terrified to come forward and ask for help. And so that kind of inspired me to, you know, at the time there were a lot of guys coming back with TBI, a lot of guys coming back with PTS and not getting the help and not navigating through the VA system efficiently. So there was a lot of room for improvement. And, you know, I thought, look, I'm going to make a movie. I don't want to make it you know, a beat you over the head story about some guy like that, you know, that's just suffering. Like to be a movie and be, in my opinion, have an impact, it has to be entertaining at the same time. And it has to have a message that kind of hits you subconsciously, right? So I tried to keep a little bit of a comedic through line happening in the film. I tried to show some stuff that was impactful and heavy, but that didn't sort of like live in that space too long or linger too long. So look, I love the film. We had, you know, $2 million to make it, 2.5. For the budget, I thought it came out great. You know, again, I've had screenings where like I walked out and people were just drenched. So, you know, like
you made an impact.
It's,
you know,
hitting
real.
home, you know.
I actually kind of, although the ending was a little bit controversial with, you know, some of the circles that I run with, I actually enjoyed it, right? Because I think oftentimes, you know, we watch a movie and we want to see, you know, this super, super happy ending, right? It's almost like we need it. And, you know, that movie didn't have the happiest of ending, and I'm glad, because it's still a raw topic in our country. We are still losing veterans.
Yeah.
It's something I'm very passionate about. It's something obviously you're very passionate about, and I really liked, you know, honestly, I like the way you ended that movie.
So let me tell you why I ended it that way.
Yeah.
Because what I know is that there's homeless veterans out there that are capable of living a full life.
Oh, I couldn't agree
right?
with you more. Yeah.
That are capable of being fathers, that are capable of being husbands. So I wanted to show him as a father, as, you know, a form, you know, a ex, right? But that still cared about his wife, that still had, you know, was fighting to spend time with his kid, that was still heroic, that was still inspiring veterans along the way, that had like everything that you need to live a fulfilled lifestyle, right? After having seen him do all this, you now at the end of the movie find him homeless. So that when you see a homeless veteran next time, it reminds you that of what they're capable of. I love it, man. Right? Because you don't see that. You
well,
see
and I can't tell you
person,
how many times me, like just personally driving around, and you see a homeless guy and he's a veteran, and you're like, dude, you know, that could have been a couple decisions away from me. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of veterans that could resonate that maybe they fell off the tracks, and however, whether it's a nonprofit or somebody helped them. But, you know, man, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at homeless veterans like, dude, where did you go right when you should have gone left? You know what I mean? Because to your point, like there are, that's, I couldn't.
Well, and then also in my movie, it's like everything's going right until he loses the bike, and then it just crashes, right? So, you know, and at the time, going back to the unit, you know, I had met Tom Spooner. I don't know if you know Tom, and Scott Spooner, and Tom had started Warrior's Heart Foundation.
Great foundation. They've helped some of my friends personally. Tom's a good human. I've never met him, but I know the story, and that nonprofit has helped people I know personally.
Changing lives, like really, really doing effective work, and so, you know, Tom came on and helped me promote it. And, you know, look, you know, even though the money didn't flow to these charities the way I wanted it to, you know, the word that we got out, the media attention was great. You know, like I said, critically, you know, Hollywood kind of like gave me a little bit of a backhand, but the attention that we got from the media was worth every penny.
I don't know if you can dive into it, and I don't know if this is the venue, but why was there pushback? Because you would think helping homeless veterans, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, that shouldn't be a political thing.
You can't do. How does it? Right, exactly.
But was there a politics? I don't know what you can say.
You know, there was like some review came out, and you know, the guy or woman said, you know, and it starts off with an American flag waving. Yeah, I'm like, you can't even wave the American flag, you know, and like it's like, you know, it was like, I don't know, man. I mean, this is a whole dialogue that I don't understand, you know.
Sure. Yeah, and that's kind of that's a part of the industry, I'm sure, that none of us envy. So
it's like you can't be patriotic. You know what I mean?
That's wild.
Anyway. But yeah, that's a passion project that I'm really proud of. I mean, it's still available on streaming, you know.
Oh no, if you have not seen that movie, let me make a pitch for you. And I'm not saying this because Max is in our studio. If the movie sucked, I'd say the movie sucked. I don't care. That's a great movie. I think it's a project that people should support. You should go watch it. If you're a veteran, I promise you that'll hit you at some point, whether if it doesn't hit you personally, you know somebody. That's a great movie. Go see it. I hadn't seen it. I don't know how I'd missed that movie, to be honest with you, but that's a great movie. And that's a movie I watched with my kids too. So it was still a family friendly movie, even though it told, you know, a deeper message, but that was a great movie, man.
And before we fly past it, Warrior's Heart Foundation, amazing work.
I actually have a couple questions on that.
Gary Sinise, his foundation, you know, builds and outfits homes for veterans with disabilities. Higher Ground USA was the other charity that I was supporting, and they do kind of recreational therapy out of Sun Valley, Idaho, and I think they have a base in LA now. but 3 just stellar organizations that are.
Do you still sit on the board for Warriors Heart?
I do, but my involvement is a little bit less now because look, I mean, the pandemic hit, the economy crashed, my union went on strike, like shit got real.
Yep.
And I had to kind of concentrate on my family, but
Survive.
Yeah. But yeah, I do.
You've made multiple trips to the Middle East. What do you see and do, with the Warriors Heart and some of these nonprofits that most people don't understand about veteran needs?
I mean, look, as an entertainer, I think that, my strength is in spreading the word, right? It's about using, my celebrity to kind of show support. It's showing up at events. It's, mentioning it in podcasts so that your listeners know and are aware of these organizations. And what I need to be doing to be self-critical is to get back more into a boots on the ground approach, which I plan on. But yeah, I mean, it's really, for me, I think, it's like using the stage to spread the word.
I love that, man. I love it that you're using your platform because, look, man, there's been a disconnect with Hollywood, if you will, between, Hollywood and almost kind of, it seems like, the rest of the world. And it's and it's refreshing to hear an actor, just kind of understand, man, that, it's kind of like me with a podcast. If nobody listens to this podcast, I don't really have a podcast.
That's right.
I'm just talking on the internet.
Yeah.
But, with you being an actor and having, that platform and still using your platform, for good when you can. I think that's admirable, man.
Yeah.
And I think the world needs more of that.
I agree.
Addiction and PTSD treatment seems to be a focus, for you. Why does that cause resonate so personally?
I mean, look, for me, I wanted to focus on charities that did that had different approaches, right? So, Warriors Heart Foundation, a prerequisite to get into the program is that you have a dependency, right? So, and the thing that I loved about them is that they're helping veterans, but they're also helping first responders, law enforcement officers, and the like. So, and then the other organizations have a different approach. Gary Sinise is a good friend of mine, has dedicated his life to helping veterans. Nobody does more for veterans.
That's Lieutenant Dan himself.
That's
dude.
right.
Yeah.
Dude, he's amazing. I mean, and has gone through some pretty heavy stuff on his personal side, in his personal life. And still finds the time to get out there and help the veteran community. But the dependency thing is something that seems to be very prevalent as a crutch, right? And it accelerates the spiral. So
Absolutely.
if you can't balance it, and people get caught, it's like we all like to go out and have drinks, but some people get caught. So it's I think more attention should be paid to that. But yeah, I love what Warriors Heart does.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good to hear somebody like you that's involved. That dude's done a lot to help people. You're actively helping veterans transition into film, TV, and radio. I know you talked about it a little bit. How does that work? Are you creating opportunities or just opening doors?
Both. I mean, creating opportunities. I mean, opening doors, but also, trying to show them or tell them how to kind of
maneuver, probably Hollywood
maneuver, but also if you're prepared to have some longevity in the industry, right? Like you can kind of get lucky maybe and break in for a second, do a couple jobs. Michael Irby and I were talking about this the other day. Some of the cast of the Mayans, it's like these guys had come on thinking, this is it, we're done, we've made it, we did 4 fucking years.
Don't buy your Ferrari yet, bro.
Don't buy the Ferrari. Yeah. So longevity comes with preparation, and it's just doing the work, Yeah.
You support Higher Grounds. I know you just talked about Higher Ground USA and focus on avoiding charity bureaucracy when you can. I know you just talked a little bit about it, to make sure, you know, that help gets directly to those who need it. What's the difference between effective veteran support and just good intentions?
Well, I mean, good intentions to me means that maybe it's not getting your hands dirty if you know the intention's there, but you're not really doing the work. You know, I mean, I think
the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you gotta. You know, but like the thing is that everybody can contribute in some form, right? It's like, you know, like my kids, like, so, you know, one time I had all these, you know, MREs that I had bought, and I piled them all in my truck, and I took them down to, there was a long row of homeless veterans near the VA in Westwood, California, in Los Angeles. Horrible fucking situation. I mean, these guys and weren't allowed. I think the deal was that they couldn't come onto the VA property because a lot of them had dependency issues, right? But I took all these meals down and handed them out of my, you know, from the back of my truck, and, you know, and got my camera out and talked to some veterans, and, you know, and posted it. So like that is a small example of leading by example, right? Taking an hour out of your day and going and doing something, you know, and this is also the power of social media. You can show the world that these people are still out on the street. They still need help. It's not over, because just because it's not headlines anymore doesn't mean that the struggle's over, you know. And you can use your Instagram platform to do something like that, right? So there's all kinds of ways to help, you know. Take a photo if you're an actor, you know, say something about a veteran, take a photo with a veteran, do whatever it is. Show people that, you know,
that you care, man.
That you care.
Yeah. And we all know the difference too between somebody just posting something on social media and you know, somebody who like you is kind of made it your, you know, life's mission on top of doing entertainment, you know, also to give back when and where you can. I mean, it's not your sole purpose to save veterans,
right,
you know what I mean?
Right,
it's all of us as a collective community.
Right.
It doesn't matter what your profession is. So, you know,
I've definitely done enough to where people know that it's part of something that I'm, you know, concerned about, you know, so.
Kind of, you know, transition into the back half of your life. I know you're in a hurry and you got to get somewhere. You posted on Instagram about being bedside as, you know, Stewart passed away, calling it one of, you know, two of the most profound moments in your life.
Yeah.
What did those final moments teach you about what really matters?
Oh my God.
This is powerful.
So, it's so wild, man. So we had our relationship, you know, he was a very strong presence in the house. And I have historically had a really difficult time dealing with death. And I usually check out.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough for me, you know, and so because I had checked out in the past, I forced myself to be at his bedside and to be there and to strike up conversations that we otherwise wouldn't have had, you know, and we had these very real moments in his last moments. And he talked about, you know, my relationship with my dad and that struggle. And there was a little bit of that between the two of them. My dad was very resentful of that I had a stepfather that came into my life and, you know, occupied his space, right? And, you know, and I remember he was struggling and I was like, you know, we called him Pappy. I was like, Pappy, you know, we're all here. My brother was in the room. My mom was in the room. I was like, you can go now, right? And the minute I said that, oh, dude, he took his last breath. And it was like, I think it was about 3 a.m. in Virginia, and it was pitch black. And it was freezing. It was probably 15 below. And he took his last breath, and I heard these birds, like a flock of fucking birds, came right up to the window, chirping. This is like in 20 below or whatever it was, 15 below. And I turned to my brother and was like, "Did you hear that? Are you listening to this?" And they took off. You could hear them taking off, came back, circled, and then took off, and that was it. But it was like, I looked at him and I was like, wow, if you're not a believer, you are now, man. I mean, that was because the birds don't come out at that time, right? And, but it was, I walked away, it was one of the lessons in my life that had the most weight and was the most profound, because at the end of the day, that resolve.
Yeah.
These
are powerful moments, bro.
Yeah. The resolve, right? Amazing. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks for getting us. Thanks
bro.
for giving us a look into your soul. I mean, because I think at the end of the day, people forget that you're a real human being.
Well, at the end of the day, this is all bullshit, right? I mean, you got what you walk away with is that moment. That's that, like, where that connection. I love you. You love. You know what I mean? That's it. And everything else, the movies, everything. It's like, if you're not using it for good, then find something else to do, because anyway, not to like get, but you're right. This is the kind of things that we really talk about on this podcast too, is I think purpose is important. I don't care if you're a painter, a bricklayer, a cop, a veteran, a movie star, a lawyer, like, I think we all need a purpose, right? And a higher calling. There's nothing that says you can't, have fun as an actor and still have a purpose, right? Like you're a perfect example of that, where you can blend all those things together and have a good life and provide for your family and have fun and make a craft and still impact people, right? You're using your platform to impact people. We're doing the same thing here, just in a different way. And I think it's cool to hear that human moment, because, at the end of the day, we're all going to die. We're all going to die.
As we get older, guys like you and I too, man, you start seeing people that are important to you pass away, and you really start asking yourself, like, what is important?
Yeah.
I mentioned it earlier on, as time is our most valuable commodity. It took a really big tragedy in my own personal life. We focus, I think, in our younger years on money, right? Next job, next promotion, next, for you, next movie, whatever. For us, it was different. And then you get to the certain point in your life and you're like, dude, I don't care if you're Elon Musk or Tom Cruise or me or you, we all get the same amount of time, and we're all losing it. It's the only thing.
It's the only thing you can't get back.
You can't get back, man. So thanks for.
And I've shared that moment with veteran buddies of mine. Like, I've gone to Arlington with my SEAL commander buddy, and we've stood on, in front of graves of his buddies that passed, and those sacrifices don't go unnoticed, and it's there's so many people that appreciate that.
Yeah.
Me included.
Stewart had back-to-back Emmys for the Rockford Files, directed for decades. How did he teach you about the longevity in Hollywood, the difference between fame and the craft?
I mean, just by forcing me to work for it, I mean, he wasn't like overly supportive with me getting into the business, but he was encouraging, in that, he would support me, going through the motions to earn it.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I think
he was fucking great.
That's another cool thing. And you're passing that on to your own kid. It's like, hey, bro, I made it, but I worked for this.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm not giving you shit.
Nobody's
Earn
getting
it.
anything.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, especially as a dad as well, when you make these kids earn things, they get a different level of achievement internally, versus I can just give them everything and then they turn into ungrateful, non-contributing members of society.
That's right.
His final acting role was in your film, Sergeant William Gardner. which I didn't know that until I prepared for this. What was it like working together professionally as opposed to that that family dynamic?
Oh God, I mean, he was like, he wasn't very, he was always really encouraging with my work.
He was married to your mother, Pat, for 40 years. What did you learn about commitment and partnership from watching their relationship?
I mean, amazing what they did. I mean, and yeah, they're, it was like, it was watching soulmates come together, and it really helped me, and get through the idea that my parents were separating, right, or were divorcing. Was seeing her reconnect with somebody that they would go dancing, and go have cocktails, and they love to take walks together, and it was just it was beautiful watching these two come together and share so much time together, and they were inseparable. Nice, something to aspire to.
Yeah, 40 years is no drop in the hat,
joke,
dude, especially
yeah.
in today's day and age where it's just easy to kind of give up. So it's awesome. Fatherhood and your work-life balance. You've reflected on wasting time on things that were never going to amount to anything. How did loss clarify your priorities, especially as a dad, man?
Well, the moment that I described to you was the most honest I've ever been. It's the most naked I've ever felt, and the thing that as a father, now I'm not afraid to be vulnerable in front of my kids. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not afraid to share anything with them, and I've told them, I've said, guys, like I've done it all. There's nothing that you're going to do that I haven't done, and so let me save you some time, and the most important thing with fathering for me was having an open line of communication. I'm like, if you come to me, you'll never get in trouble. As kids, I used to say that if you're honest with me and you come to me first, I'm only going to help you. If you don't come to me and you're deceptive, or you're doing shit behind my back, and then I find out later, then we've got an issue. But you have an open line of communication here, and I want to be your ally. I'm your guide, but I want to be your ally. And so we have this really interesting relationship, and that I was a little bit of a drill sergeant, when they were growing up, but it was just to give them parameters. It was not.
Well, you don't want to run feral too, man. I mean,
that's right.
Kids need. Kids crave discipline.
I mean, look, my kids grew up saying yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no
That's how it should
ma'am. I
be.
mean, you with me?
Yeah.
So like that is lost.
I just had this conversation with somebody yesterday. Kids who have manners get treated differently. I spent a career in law enforcement at some point, and it's like, I remember running across kids, even in bad situations where they were getting in trouble. The kids that had manners got treated different. And that's a good point. I think that people kind of forget. What has it been like raising children in Hollywood, dude? That's got to be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging just because it's, like I said, it's a lot of it is not real. It's not real life. It's like, the red carpet, for instance, is like, it's like, it's kind of a ridiculous concept, but it's like you walk this thing and you got all these people screaming your name out and shaking photographs of you, and then they come out online, and then it's fake, and so trying to remind them to stay grounded and show them how to stay grounded in the middle of all this, like, everybody blowing smoke up your ass and telling you that you're something that you're not, is the challenge, right? Yeah. That was like when my kid was like, I want to get into film, I just thought, oh my God, it's happening. This is the nightmare come true, right? It's a great business if you're working, if you have something substantial to offer, and people are seeing it and giving you opportunities. If you don't have anything to offer, it's a tough road.
Is it fleeting? Is there times where like, man, you got the 15 minutes and life's fast and furious and you're loving it, and then, you know, followed by like a deep darkness where like nobody calls you?
Oh yeah.
I can imagine that'd be wild, man. You maintain your physical foundation, hiking, surfing, you know, martial arts. How does staying, you know, ready physically, you mentioned that earlier, serve not just your roles, but also, you know, your approach to life?
Well, I mean, it keeps me healthy, you know, like I have to, if I let myself go, I'm going to suddenly, you know, get into playing character roles, and I don't know if I have a place in that world, you know, so I need to kind of stay in the pocket, but I eat really clean, man. And, you know, like I like to go out and have a good time. I get crazy like the rest of them, but you know, but I definitely stay in the gym every day. My kids followed that. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
Like they're both little gym rats, and you know, and we used to work out together, you know, before college, and
yeah, health and wellness isn't an option in my house. Like, you're gonna play a sport, I don't care what sport you play.
100%.
You can pick it, or I'll pick it
That's
for
right,
you. But you're not sitting around all day.
Mine too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, you Sergeant Will Gardner was your kind of directorial debut, writing, directing, starting alongside Gary Sinise, Amari Hardwick. Why did you? Well, you know, why was it that story? Why were you so drawn to that story? I mean, I think you just told me before we recorded that there was the guy that I don't want to give the story away, but towards the end, there's another character, and that character was actually homeless when you cast
I mean,
him.
this is like an incredible. So when I was casting, there's an amputee, a veteran that was amputee veteran in the film, and he had come in an audition. He was like, "Hey, listen, you know, just so you know, like I even if I don't get this part, you know, like I so admire what you're doing for the veteran community and telling the story, and you know, the charities and this and that. I was an Army Ranger, you know, I jumped out of a plane, my canopy didn't deploy, I hit the ground, I bounced, you know, and I went, you know, it took me, I don't know how long to collect disability and this and that. And, you know, I'd love to be a part of this. And, you know, and but he was so good, man. And he left, and I was like, fuck, I think we should give it to him. And when I called him, he started crying, and he was like, dude, I'm homeless. You know, God, I'm living out of my car. You know, and so like we gave this guy, this actor, Luis, he's so fucking beautiful.
What's his name?
Luis Bordenada. And he's now he doesn't stop working, but we literally like jump started him. He had nothing. He was living out of his car. I mean, he had a cell phone, right? But yeah, so that was one of another one of the success stories that came out of that film, the making of that film. Isn't that fucking cool?
That's cool to be a part of that, but it's also cool to see it. And, you know, that's another reason why you guys need to go watch that Sergeant Will Gardner. I mean, just listen to that raw story of how that movie, you know, changed his life. So if that doesn't inspire you to watch that film, then you guys suck anyway. Yeah. What's the we're getting towards the end. What's the veteran narrative you haven't seen on screen yet that maybe, you know, you think would be cool to tell?
Well, one of my new favorite movies is Warfare. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh God. Yeah, that is the most realistic movie, warfare, you know, war movie you're ever going to see. My wife took me that on a date night. Normally I got to go watch some Hallmark movie. She picked a movie, and I felt really bad for her, man. She really wanted to, like, you know, take us out. We went there, and I got sick to my stomach. That movie was extremely well made, almost a little scary, dude. Those guys did it.
I think it's the best war film ever made.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, and there's no story. It's like you come in on a mission, you're out on a mission. It's, you know, but it's,
if you're a veteran, you know, especially, you know, in special operations or you've done combat, that movie is a real movie. Make sure you've dealt with your demons, or you're going to face them while you're in that theater. That movie was phenomenally made. Yeah. Shout out to those dudes. I think there was some SEALs that made it, man. Those dudes did a great job. Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned that's kind of a new movie. Are you have any stories that you're looking at long term, or any projects that you're considering long term? Maybe.
No, I mean, I'm right now. I'm
sure there's a lot of projects people are considering you for.
Well, I've got some stuff coming out. Like I got a movie coming out called Hollywood Grit that comes out in AMC theaters on August 22nd. A movie, that Western is called Flint. That's in post-production. And then a movie called Bethesda that comes out probably in the next year or so. But But yeah, I mean, I'm staying busy. I don't have anything really. There's a little bit of it. I can't really say anything yet. I don't have the job. I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some stuff coming in.
Sweet, man.
Yeah.
You're balancing acting opportunities with directing ambitions. How do you decide what projects deserve your limited time, man?
Just the quality ones. I mean, I try to concentrate on stuff that lets me sink my teeth into it. Has some substance to it.
Young actors are now taking military roles, bro. What do they need to understand about the responsibility that comes with representing America's real warriors?
I mean, I think you just you can't half-ass it. Get ready, get tactically, figure out, I mean, it's not something you can do in a weekend, right? It's, but it is, if you're, it's a tough one because you can try to get it right on, there's a lot of guys that look like they belong on a long gun, and then there's a lot of guys that look like they just don't, So I think there's a little bit of you either have it or you don't, but if you have it, hone it.
Great.
Own it and hone it.
That's a great, we should put that on a t-shirt. If Corporal Henderson from Saving Private Ryan or Master Sergeant Gerhardt from the unit could see your journey now, the advocacy, the directing, the authentic storytelling mission, what do you think they'd say?
They'd probably say, at least you didn't get soft. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Stewart, Margolin's voice in your decisions, his example of longevity and craft, how does that guide you as you choose what stories to tell next?
Oh, man. I mean, he loved what I was doing, and he was, he loved kind of how I sort of took it from, just sort of like being part of, ridiculous work to being part of things that had some impact. When I make decisions, if I think about, how he affected me and guided me, it just kind of keeps me in a lane, because he was always encouraging, and I think and really recognized my need to not only entertain people, but also affect people in a positive manner. And I mean, his presence even now is still a reminder to kind of to not forget why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I love that, man, because I think a lot of times maybe some actors forget. They're like, man, we're going to the movies. Sometimes, man, we just need to escape. It could be escaping, PTSD or a bad day, man. I mean, I can't tell you how many great times or great moments I've enjoyed with my kids watching movies, because we get to sit down and, as a family and, spend some time and watch a good show. So
and sometimes you don't have to think.
Yeah. And that's great too.
It's great too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why Osiris is going to be, a fun movie. I know that's originally why you came here is, man, you just get to sit down and just be entertained. Like it doesn't always, there are, some great movies that, should make you think. I mean, there's been a couple of movies that DiCaprio did where I came out there and I'm like, what? And I just watched. But sometimes it's good to just sit down and be entertained. Well, we're towards the end, man. I just want to sincerely thank you for your authenticity, and for being over here and just being vulnerable and having a real Hollywood. You didn't craft anything. You didn't tell me what I could talk about and what I couldn't talk about, and only stick to this or that. I mean, you came here. I didn't even really tell you what I was going to ask you, and you're pretty trusting of the process, man. So I appreciate that. So, is there any last thing that you would like to tell the audience, or anything about you, any fun facts that people should know about you, or?
No, I mean, just go see Osiris. I think, like you said, it's good old school mindless entertainment, and you don't have to think, and you'll love the tactical shit.
I got like 5 quick hits, man, or 10 quick hits that just not super overthinking. Spielberg, Michael Bay, or Guillermo del Toro, who gave you the best tactical direction?
Tactical direction? Probably Michael Bay.
Really? I didn't see that coming. What's the one piece of military gear every actor should actually learn to use?
One piece of military gear? Oh God. I don't know. Maybe you're All of it. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, is there anything?
Hey, bro, there's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I mean,
Most ridiculous thing you've seen in a military movie that made you cringe?
I'm a big one for grip. Your grip, you know, on a in sweeping people, it drives me crazy. You know?
Aliens versus terrorists. Which enemy required more tactical preparation?
Wow, probably the aliens.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
What would your law enforcement mother think of your tactical skills now?
She's a huge fan.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. In fact, my mother's 84, 85, and we clear her house together.
That's cool.
Yeah.
One word to describe Linda Hamilton on the Osiris set.
Badass.
Tom Hanks taught you what about being a soldier on screen?
Bring emotion to it.
Important.
Yeah.
That was an emotionally impacting movie. What's the biggest misconception civilians have about special forces?
I think the misconception is that it's just a stepping stone that you can, you know, I don't think that civilians understand the work that the selection process.
Yeah. Best piece of advice from a real operator you've worked with?
Slow and smooth.
Why should military audiences choose Osiris over every other option on July 25th when it aired?
Over every other military option?
No, just over the other options of movies that are out there.
Because Max Martini's in it.
Yeah. Boom.
Boom.
What's the most important thing young actors need to know about military roles? I think we kind of covered that earlier. And then, you know, complete this. Every military consultant has told me.
Wait, say it again?
Yeah. So complete the sentence. Every military consultant has told you what?
To unfuck yourself.
You've worked with great dudes then.
Yeah,
That's what the real trainers say.
Yeah.
Hey man, this has been an awesome episode. You know, and a rare opportunity to sit down and get a real behind the scenes look at not only Max Martini, the actor, but Max Martini, the human. And it's been awesome, man. I think this interview is going to really resonate with people who didn't know you before. There's not tons of information out there about you. So I hope this at least opens our listeners, and you know, you get a whole bunch of new folks that weren't all the way following you. Although I think most people know who you are, dude. That most recent episode, or the most recent season of Lioness, it's pretty dope, man.
Yeah,
you guys did dope. Yeah, I mean, it's like that's just an award-winning group of people making, and that story's great. So anyway, man, thanks for your time, brother. I look forward to watching your stuff in the future. Everybody out there, thanks for supporting the channel. You know, we wouldn't have a podcast without you guys. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. And again, man, go out there and support Max and support his movies. You're not just supporting an actor, you know, you're supporting, you know, somebody who's huge on veteran advocacy and giving back to the community. I mean, you've heard who he is and how he prepares. So we need more authentic people like this in Hollywood. So by supporting, you know, Max and his film and the films that he's directing, you are supporting, you know, better, authentic military, you know, style movies out there, and we love it. So everybody stay safe out there. And if you can't be safe, be violent out here.